Maybe a wine glass. Okay, when we was bootlegging that podcast. So drugs and disrespect in my mind, man. 500 acres, so you find that. All that saying I can't never get that time back. Nigga in the book is when you hide at the body, right? Because you never get my grind back. Stevie and all these lines to the factory, lines to the race, pour in our face. Money in the bank, only time I'm here on chase. So I'ma let my people participate with our waste. And the pretty little crack with the law gon' handle my case. Today in violation, a violation. Like a code section. So subsection 33. I fuck with Israel or else it's against the beast. I ain't talking Drake, man down late. Pretty say they pray for the day. So Christ come to slay. There will be no anything, no sunshine, no daffodils. That shit in the blood. We had daffodils. It's a gold chain. Take it on like the daffodil. I just ran that bitch. One half the trap house. But I did hand that shit.
We're improvising, y'all. We're improvising.
Collapse.
Clap it up, everybody. We wasn't able to improvise tonight due to the fact that, you know what I'm saying, we got our whiteboard coming, but the whiteboard is so large that it couldn't fit in the car. So no sweat. I'm Officer Abraham of the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. You get this going here. Tonight, this is the language class, the Hebrew language class, the first class. Barakatah Yahweh Yahweh Shai for that. I'm gonna step over here so I think everybody can see me on the camera, right? Try to adjust this. There's gonna be a lot of adjusting tonight. You know what I'm saying? A lot of, you know, backing up and coming forward, but we're gonna make it through, right? So this is the Lashawan Qadash class. This is the language class. This is in this class. Of course, you're definitely gonna need pen and paper. You're gonna have to understand. We're gonna first go over some basics of the language, of the Hebrew language. You understand? A lot. If you look at Al Jazeera's, the news channel, Netanyahu, they speak what was known today to us as Yiddish. A whole lot of a whole lot of that. You understand? But that is it's a bastardized form of the Hebrew language that was created during the Assyrian captivity, when we were taken away by the Assyrians, and they wanted to know, of course, what the Hebrew slaves were speaking. You understand? They wanted to know what those slaves was talking about, and they was talking amongst one another and what they were saying. So they, you know, of course, studied our language and came up with their own bastardized way of saying our language. So first of all, when we first start out with the Hebrew language, we start out with the alphabet. So who does not have the alphabet sheet with them? Okay, brother, come up here and get this. All right. So now I'm gonna do this class like I was taught this class with, now General Qadash, who was then captain of 13,000 Qadash. He started off by everyone repeating the alphabet on that sheet as it says the top line of that sheet. What you're looking at on this sheet is the written ancient Hebrew, which is from a pictograph. Our language was a pictograph language. You understand? This is the ancient Hebrew, and it's a pictograph language. It's a language of symbols. You understand? So we started off in these classes by every one of us repeating these letters. So right up under the letters, of course, this class is full of mistakes. So don't be shy. This is the one time where you get to mistake and mess up, and I'll be up here messing up and mistaking and correcting myself as well. And doing that, we'll get better in our ancient language. We'll get better in our language that our forefathers spoke. And you'll definitely come out of this class, understanding our language. And therefore, tomorrow in the Sabbath service, you'll understand better, what's being read and what's being said. You understand? So we're gonna start out. I'll repeat it first, and then we'll go in with Shabbat, then the young man, and we'll come over to the sisters. Okay? So the first letter, starting out with the first letter, of course, Hebrew is written and read from right to left. The so-called white man reads everything from left to right. He does everything from the left-hand side. Hebrews, we do everything. The Most High does everything from the right-hand side. So from right to left, the first letter is I. And notice that this letter I it has an H behind it. You understand? These letters have the letter H behind it. Most of them have the letter H behind it. So it's not A-H, it's not aha, it's ah. So the letters are ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za. Now, that letter that looks like a ladder is ha. Ha. Like you're hocking up a loogie. Black brothers know exactly what I'm talking about. Ha. That's exactly what it is. Ta is the next one. Ya, ka, like a K. La, ma, na, sa, I is that letter I that we see in the English language. Pa, taza, kwa, ra, sha, and tha. Those are the letters of the Hebrew language, and you can read them right off this page, starting off with Shabaya Allah. Go ahead and hit it, officer.
Ka, ah, ba, ga, da, ha, wa, za, ka, ta, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza, kwa, ra, sha, ta.
Get it, brother, in. Most High in Christ. Good job. Because he's an officer. You know what I'm saying? He's an officer, been in that thing for a long time. If you stumble, no sweat. All right, brother. If you say young man Grant. Young man Grant. Give it a shot. That's not Jah, not like the English language like Jah, but God.
God. Da, ha, wa, za, ka. Ha, ya, ka, la, ma, na, sa, I, pa, taza.
All right, sis. Most good students up in here. All right, sis, go ahead. Most High Christ, get right here. And now notice that these letters, the same letters are right below there in the Assyrian. And the Assyrian, when you see the Assyrian, like when you read from the Torah, when you come up here on the Sabbath and you read from the Torah, of course this is the Spanish one, and I'll pass this around. But let me pass around the English one. If you look at that there, you'll see that on that 1 second. Let me get this. 1 second. If you look at that print, you will see that that's printed like the top line of the Assyrian. The Tanakh or the Torah is written in the Assyrian Hebrew. You understand? It's not written in the ancient. I seen one Tanakh or Torah that was written in the ancient Hebrew, and that was from an older brother. His name is Balthazar. You understand? He you understand, no longer with us. You know, he no longer comes to camp, but he guards that thing like a crown jewel. Won't ever let it out of his hand. You know what I'm saying? Won't let nobody borrow it. Won't let nobody take it home with him. But he showed it to me. And when he showed it to me and I opened it up and I saw the top line and all the words written like the top line, he was cradling it when he showed it to me. Like he gave it to me, and then he was shadowing it when he gave it to me, because you can't find one no more. You know what I'm saying? I think they're hard to find. So if you pass that to the sisters, let them see that. So now, I think it's upside down. It's upside down. Yep, there you go. There you go. If you see the English, you'll see the English on the left-hand border in the column on the left-hand side. You'll see the English translation. So when you see the Sabbath service and you see us reading from the Torah on the Sabbath service, this is what the brothers are reading from. This is exactly what they're reading from, and this is what we study to read from the Tanakh, to read the Old Testament. And right now in the Old Testament, we are at, I think, Leviticus chapter 15, and I think we're on in chapter 15 in the Old Testament. Now, if you notice also too, you notice a lot of dots and a lot of squiggly lines and a whole bunch of lines over the letters. The so-called Assyrians use those dots for you to make sounds that are not in the Hebrew. They use those dots for you to make the sound, the letter E. The letter E is not in the ancient Hebrew. The letter O is not in the ancient Hebrew. You understand? There are certain letters that are not in the ancient Hebrew at all. There's certain consonants that are not in the ancient Hebrew. And those dots and squiggly lines are there making you make those sounds that are not in the ancient Hebrew. Of course, Here in this class, we're going to teach you how to ignore those damn dots and squiggly lines because they mean absolutely nothing. And we're going to teach you how those go ahead.
You out of the shot.
I'm out of the shot. It's a lock. We're gonna teach you exactly what those words, how those words are pronounced, and we're gonna show you how to recognize them and show you how to read them according to this chart right here. You understand? According to how they're read in the Torah. All right, now we're gonna get into some words. Right? I like to start off with easy words. Let's start off with everybody's name, right? We'll start off with everybody's name at first. My name is Officer Abraham. So we're gonna put this down here. We'll go to the whiteboard and I'll show you how my name looks written down in the ancient Hebrew and then in the Assyrian Hebrew. So of course, officer in the ancient Hebrew is Qadash. So if you look on your page, you will see Qua and you will see the letter Tazah. Qua, which is, you'll see Qua, and you'll see, let me write this a little bit better. You'll see the Qua, and you'll see the Tazah. You'll see Qua, and you'll see the Tazah. Qua Tazah is the word for officer. Now, also too, when you're reading the Hebrew, there are only two, I'll say, indications of how you should pronounce each letter. There are two indications, and one of these indications is what's called a connector. A connector looks like this. It's basically like a smiley face. This is a connector. All right? So a connector will connect two letters together. Now, if you see something that looks like a frown, that separates two letters. All right? Separator, right? I hope I spelled that right. I wasn't the best speller in school, so y'all gotta forgive me for that. I wasn't the best speller, I got D's in spelling. So if I spell anything incorrectly, as in English, Salakia, forgive me, right? So can everybody see that? You have connectors and you have the separator, right? So now, with the word officer, right, you have two separators under each letter. They go right here. Qua Tazah. So now, each separator would indicate that you are pronouncing each letter by itself. Qua Tazah. Qua Tazah is, we'll write it from right to left. Qua. Tazah. That is the word for officer. Qadash is the word for officer. So Qadash is the word for officer. So every time I sign my name in the Hebrew, in the ancient Hebrew, I start off by writing this word right here, Qadash. And to make it more distinct here, you can make sure you do this. Make that like a Z. Quarters out like that, put your connector under there like that. I mean, the separator under there like that. Quarters out, right? So we have officer, right? Here comes the more difficult part of my name. Which is my actual name. It's Abraham. So I have the first letter of the alphabet, which is the A, which is that sideways A. Everybody can see that? Let me write it a little bit bigger. It's the A, or the K that's overdrawn. Looks like a K that's overdrawn. I don't know, let me see if I can see if that's, there we go. It's kind of hard if you're tuning in online, it's kind of hard for you to see what I'm drawing on the board, which just should encourage you to come to class. You understand? It should encourage you to get to the class. So you have the first letter of my name, which is the A, and then the second letter of the alphabet, which is the Ba, which looks like it looks exactly like that. Ba, right? That's the second letter of my name. It's like a triangle, a sideways triangle. It looks like a G almost. That's a triangle. Looks like a G that's facing the opposite direction, but almost like with a triangle on it, right? So that's the A, Ba, and then the Ra looks like a triangle to the side. It looks like a backwards 4. That's what the Ra looks like. A, Ba, Ra, and then the Ha looks like a backwards F, but you want to cock it to the side. So you want to draw it slanted. And it has three staffs coming off from it. Everybody can see that? All right. Abraham. Now the Ma in the ancient Hebrew looks like a W with the hook like the G, like the Y has, like the letter Y has. I kind of associate all the letters to, you know what I'm saying? You kind of relate it to the English. If that's confusing, let me know. You understand? So it's like a W with the tail on the end of it. That's the Ma in the ancient Hebrew. Now the connectors go like this. A is pronounced by itself. The Ba is pronounced by itself. The Ra is pronounced by itself. But the Ha and the Ma are pronounced together. So they are connected. They are connected together. So when you have a connector on a word in the ancient Hebrew, you're going to pronounce the first letter of that connector, and you're going to make the sound of the last letter in the connector, if that makes any sense. Makes sense? So, A, Ba, Ra, make the sound, Ha, Hum. You're going to pronounce the letter and make the sound of the letter it connects to. Abraham. Y'all get it? Abraham. So you have my name Officer Abraham in the ancient Hebrew. All right. In the Assyrian, of course, it gets a little bit more complicated. Everybody got this? We can move on. All right. In the Assyrian, it gets a little bit more complicated with the word officer Abraham. In this class, we rarely write in the Assyrian because it's just we don't tend to do it. So now that the qua is written like that. There are no when writing the Assyrian, there are no connectors, no separators, no connectors. All right. So the tazah in the Assyrian is a Y like that. You see that? Y'all see that? That's the tazah in the Assyrian. That's the qua in the Assyrian right here, and that's the tazah in the Assyrian. So like it, and I do it absolutely backwards. It's here. That's the tazah in the Assyrian. So it's like a Y. It's like a Y, but it has that tail on the end of it. So that's Qadash, that's officer in the Assyrian. This would be officer in the Assyrian. Abraham in the Assyrian, the A would be like a U-shaped letter. Just like that. That's the A in the Assyrian. The Ba looks like this. That's the Ba in the Assyrian. The Ra in the Assyrian looks like a 7. It's a 7, it's a big number 7 like that. So it's the A, Ba, Ra. The Ha in the Assyrian is the letter N, but it doesn't hook together. So if you can imagine an N without it hooking together. Y'all see that there? Y'all see? Now with the Assyrian, if you look at your paper, if you look up under the letter Ma, you see the Ma up in the Assyrian, you see the Ma? You see down below it where it has a square? Look at the very top of the line. Look at the very top of your line. Look at the very top in the ancient Hebrew. Find the letter Ma. Find the Ma. Just follow it down and follow it straight down and you'll see the Ma for the Assyrian. Everybody see that? And now when you find the Ma, you see the Ma for the Assyrian looks kind of like a D, right? Everybody see it? If you're looking at let me know if you don't see it, because it's real important that you not get lost here.
You said it looked like a D?
It kind of looks like a D.
Let me come show it to you.
See? Yep. Kind of looks like a D. Now, you see what this you see what the arrow says? You see the black arrow? You see what's directly under that Ma that looks like the letter D? You see what that arrow says? Can you read it? Is it too blurry to read? You can't read it? What does it say? What does it say, sis?
Use these letters above all end of words.
Right. All those letters on the very bottom line in the Assyrian have to be written like that if these letters above it fall at the end of the word. Now you get to see how complicated the Assyrian and all these other nations start to make our language, right? You understand? They start to bastardize it and make it complicated. So now with my name, because the Ma falls at the end of my name, you can't write it like you see it on the first line of the Assyrian. You have to write it like you see it on the very end, on the very bottom line. You understand? You can't write it. You cannot write the bottom, my name, you can't write it like this. That's in a nutshell how you would write the Ma. You see? Don't write it like that. You can't do that. That's what I just said. You cannot do this. You cannot write that letter like that. You have to write it. You have to write the Ma on the end of my name like you see it on the very bottom line, because that Ma is coming at the end of the word. So you have to basically write it kind of like this. You understand? Because it's coming at the end of the word. If it was printed, if you were reading it in the book, if you were reading it in the Torah, you would just see a square. You would just see a square right there. And that would be the Ma. Y'all need me to go over that again? Yeah, you do. All right. You have 5 letters. There's 5 letters in the ancient Assyrian Salaki. There's 5 letters in the Assyrian Hebrew that if a word has one of these 5 letters at the end of it, you have to write that letter differently than it is written in the alphabet. And so now, everybody has this, right? Everybody has Qadash, Abraham, right? All right, now we'll just focus on these 5 letters real quick. All right. Go ahead.
Is it a certain reason why it's those 5 letters?
No. There's no reason, Shabbat. The only reason why it's those 5 letters, Shabbat, hit it. Go ahead and say it. Free your mind. Yeah, you say it all the time. We say it in all the time.
Oh, the white man is the goddamn devil.
Free your mind. That's why. That's exactly why, Shabbat. That's exactly why those letters change at the end of the word. There's no other reason. There's no other reason. The rules that I'm telling you that apply to the Assyrian, why are those dots there? The white man is the devil. Why is there's no E? In the ancient Hebrew, where is the E at on your paper? Where is the E? Where's the letter E on that paper? In the alphabet. There is not one, right? There's no letter E. So why does the Assyrian Hebrew have you saying Gamesh? Why is it Jehovah? Why is it have you saying that? It's because those dots and those squiggly lines are making you make certain sounds that are not in the letters. The letters are not there. You see what I'm saying? So that's why we don't pay attention to those squiggly lines that you see, because it's making you make sounds of letters that are not in the alphabet at all. You understand? So now we're going to focus on these 5 letters. So when you start to see them at the end of the word, you won't get confused, okay? So the first letter we're going to focus on is the Ka, right? The Ka in the Assyrian Hebrew is written like this. It's written like a backwards C. Hold on, let's see. Hold it. Written like that. That's the Ka. That's the Ka in Assyria. That's the Ka. See what I'm saying? The Ka in the ancient Hebrew. I'm gonna show you what we're writing. The ancient Hebrew, the Ka in the ancient Hebrew is this. It's a C, but it looks like a little black man figure. It looks like a little C with a little V thing in the middle of it, right? The Assyrian writes that it takes the V out and makes it sort of like makes it kind of rounded, right? That's what the Ka is in the Assyrian. This is the ancient. This is the Assyrian. That's how, if the Ka was in the middle of a word, that's how you would see it. Now, if the Ka was at the end of a word, this is how you would see it. Like that. That's the first letter that you may see at the end of a word that it totally looks different, okay? That's why this black arrow is saying if the Ka comes at the end of the word, this is how it would look if it was written. And this is how you have to write it. Okay? That's the first one. The second one, of course, is the Ma. Now we know in the ancient, the Ma looks like that W with the little tail on it. That's the Ma. That's the ancient. All right, the Ma in the Assyrian looks like that little kind of little D-looking thing. Ain't got to be perfect, but that's the Assyrian, right? But now the Ma, if you see it at the end of a word, looks kind of like an O that you that you don't quite connect right at the top. Or if you look at it printed in the Torah, it won't look like that at all. It'll just look like a square. It'll just be a square, a box, 4-corner square, just like you may see a square, in geometry. It'll just look like a square. A straight up square at the end of a word. And when you see that square, you know that that's the Ma at the end of a word. It'll look just like a square. if you remember Shabbat on your officer's test, you saw some of the when you were spelling out the 12 tribes, some of those tribes that ended with an M had a square at the end of it. And it messed you up, didn't it? Because the answer sheet had the printed Assyrian. Because that's what you see. Of course, you had to write it in the ancient. You had to write those names of those tribes in the ancient, and you had to write it in the Assyrian. You understand? That officer's test is spiritual, and it's ain't nothing to be played with. To get this seat in here to be called officer is something that very few men are able to do. Right. Understand? I've seen some brothers take that officer test 7, 8 times. I've seen some brothers get stuck right at that officer's test and turn in that last test. And when they see that first red mark get on it, they say, that's it. Ain't taking it no more. You understand? And they say the truth. You understand? So that's the second letter. That's the second letter. It's the Ma. The Ma is the second letter that you find in the alphabet, that if it comes at the end of the word, you have to print it like this. Okay? And remember, these are just the basics of the Hebrew language that we learn. And once you get these basics down, and we start to get into numbers and words and things of that sort, when I write them, we'll be rocking and rolling, man. Once you get through this little part right here, you'll be rocking and rolling. Now, the third letter is the Na. The Na, of course, in the ancient, is that V with the tail on the end of it. Looks like a Ma, but it's not. The Ma and the Na in the ancient look alike, but this is the Na. This is what you hear from every female for a good little minute. Nah. Nah. Give me that number. Nah. I can get you. Nah. So the nah is the next letter that if you see it at the end of the word, you have to write it differently, right? So now in the Assyrian, when you see that nah, the nah in the Assyrian is written kind of like a 3. It's like this. It's like that. That's the nah in the middle of the word. In the middle, can you see it? I need to write it on. We write it on. Kind of like that. More like that. That's the nah in the Assyrian, in the middle of the word, right? Now that nah, when you see it at the end of a word, it looks like this. It looks just like that at the end of a word. If you see it printed, it'll look like this. It'll look like that. It'll have a little tail at the top of it, and it'll have a long line down there like that. The difference between the na when it's written and the ka is this part at the top, because the ka will have a long part at the top, and it'll go down like this. That's how you know that's the ka. But the na will have a little tail at the top. That's how you tell the difference between the na and the ka. We got 2 more to go, and we good. The what?
The rock.
This, because the car, this line is straight. That rock, when you see the rock, it's like that. You see them? It's gonna be a bend, and it's gonna slant. You tell the difference? And also too, you're not gonna see this at the end of a word. You're not gonna see this at the end of a word. You're gonna always see that in the middle of a word. Or at the beginning of a word. You understand? You're never gonna see this in the middle, at the end. If you're gonna see this at the end of a word. You understand? So that's the difference between, that's the nod. That's the nod that comes at the end of a word right here. That's when it's printed, and this when you write it. Because I'm showing you how it is when you read it in a book. When you read it tonight, you're gonna see this. You're gonna see this. But of course, a lot of people don't write the same way. So a lot of people, when they write it, they write this. You understand? Either way is correct. If you write this, you'll be correct. If you write this, you will be right. You'll be correct. All right. Next one is the pa. Of course, the pa in ancient looks like kind of like a J. That's the pa in the ancient. The pa in the ancient Hebrew looks like this. The pa in the Assyrian looks like that as well. It looks like this. That's the Assyrian or the pa. Has a V at the bottom, like hangman, almost like hangman. That's the pa in the Assyrian. But now when you see the pa at the end of a word in the Assyrian, you're not going to see this tail, you're just going to see this. Y'all see that?
So it can never be the way that it's always printed in the Tanakh, the Torah, it's not.
Right.
Okay.
That's how you see it at the end of a word. If it's at the end of the word, that's how you see it printed in the middle of a word. If it's not coming at the end of a word. And this is, of course, at the top, the ancient. You ready to move on, right? I need my damn paper towel. The last one, of course, is the Tazah. I'm going to go over this stuff for the sister. The Tazah, I told you, is that was the word that the Qadash. That's the Tazah in the ancient. Just give me a little time here. That's the Tazah in the ancient. Tazah in the ancient, right? This is the Tazah in the Assyrian. That's the Tazah in the Assyrian. Right? This is how it shows up. The Tazah shows up at the end of the word. That's how it'll show up at the end of the word. It just won't have this tail at the back end of it. If it's at the end of the word, it's going to look like that. All right? And if you see it printed, it's just going to look a little bit more fancy. It's just going to be, it's like a calligraphy one. You know what I'm saying? It's going to look a little bit more fancy. If you see it printed at the end of the word, that's how it's going to look. But the Assyrian Tazah, if you see it in the middle of the word, this is what you're going to see at the end of the word. This is what you're going to see if you read it. You understand? These are the 5 letters that you'll run across. That's at the end of the word that you may have to print a different way, that you may have to recognize as the same letters as the Tazah, as the Ma, as the Ka, as the Na, as the Pa. You understand? The Ka, the Ma, the Na, the Pa, and the Tazah are the 5 letters that only get printed a different way at the end of the word. That's the only letters. These 5 letters only get printed a different way at the end of the word. The Ka, the Ma, the Na, the Pa, and the Tazah. Okay?
So right, seems like you write your name. And you got, seems like I'm writing officer. Qadash. On the Tazah, will I write it either way or the way it will be shown in the book? On the Tazah, like write my name.
You would write it in ancient. You would never sign your name like on rolls and things like that. You would never sign your name in the Assyrian. On no roll anywhere. We only learn the Assyrian so we can read it in the Tanakh on Sabbath service. That's the only reason why I'm even showing you the Assyrian. Okay. You understand? So what was your question again? But you know.
Because I would always write my name in the ancient, so I use.
Right. But now you do have to learn the Assyrian. It's always good to keep abreast on the Assyrian because we have to read the Assyrian every Sabbath. So you have to stay up on it. You have to. You can't just put it out your mind once you pass your test. You have to always stay up on the Assyrian because you have to read it. You understand? You have to read it, and the best way to learn how to read it is to read it. You understand? So now, I wrote my name, right? So now, Officer Shibayala, we're gonna get Shibayala's name. So now, of course, you have Qadash, right? Qadash, Shibayala gonna be mad with me though. You right? You're gonna be mad with me because I'm gonna write it. married. All right? So that's Quatazar. The Shah, which is a W in the ancient Hebrew, right? The Ba, which is the triangle letter, right? Right. That looks like the G, and has a tail on it. The I, which is the letter O. That was always easy for me to remember in the Hebrew because the letter I is O, right? So now, the Ba and the I are connected in Shabbat's name. So, Shah, Bai, those two are connected. Yahweh. So now, the Yah in the ancient Hebrew is a Z. It's a Z, but it's cocked to the side. It's like that, and it has a line through the middle of it. See? That's the Yah. Right? So now you got Yah-ah, love. So Yah-ah, the Ah is the next letter in his name. So he has the K looking letter. You know, it's like my name. All right? So yeah. That's the first letter of the alphabet. An easy letter to remember in the ancient Hebrew is the La, because the La is an L in the Hebrew. All right? Now, the last letter is a Ha, right? It's a Ha. It starts with a law. It starts with a law. Most times, right? So the connectors are Yah, Ah, La. All of them are separated. So let me write it out right here. So it's Shah. Wow. Okay. Hold on. I'm running out of space. I'm running out of space. Hold on. Hold on. Let me erase this. We'll write this off. So you got Shah, Ba, I. Y'all see that there? Shabbai. See the connector? It's not Shabbai. It's not Shabbai. It's Shabbai. Yah Allah. All of them are separated at the end. All right? And of of course that means what, Shabbat?
Oath of God.
Shabbat means oath. Ya'ala means God. Of course, the Hebrew is a very direct language. And what the heathens did is they called it a very barbaric language, because the other language they add all sorts of words. So instead of saying like of is understood. Oh God. That's how we do it. You understand? We'll say give cup. We won't say give me all of the cup. We won't be all that is unnecessary. You understand? Give cup, give water. You understand? That's how we talk. But the other nations, they hear that and they say, "Oh, these barbaric people. They don't even know how to speak." They call it broken English. They call it Ebonics. They say they speak broken language. You understand? But this right here, ain't no need for that. Why are you speaking all the words? You understand? Oath God. God's oath. You understand? That's what Shabbat means. My bad, I forgot to tell y'all my name. The meaning of my name is Father of Nations, of course. The of is understood, but Abba is Father, Raham is nations. You understand? Now, sis? Okay, most time correct. So now we have Sister N.W.O, right? So you have the letter, of course, the O is I, right? The Na is the V looking letter with the tail on it, right? You know, the Na and the Ma looks the same. So I, Na, the Wa, so like is the Y. It looks like that. I.N.W.O. You see that? So it's I-N-W-O. So this is I-N-W-O. And what does this mean, sis? Okay. So the sister's name means meekness. I.N.W.O. All of the letters are separated in this name, in her name here. Y'all see? I is easy to remember because the O, it's a hard E, it's a lion. It's a lion. So you have the F looking letter, right? That's backwards. It has the 3. So that means the Y and the Ha are connected. I-N-W-O, like that. See? And that means meekness. So you have so like Wa and the Ha are connected. It's almost like the Ha is silent because you make the sound of the Wa and you pronounce the sound of the Ha. So it's Wa. You understand? I am a Wa. Right? Everybody got it? All right. So now, sis, Orion, right? So you got the Qua, the Ra, the I, the Na, and the Ha. So the Qua is separated, the Ra and the I are hooked together, and the Na and the Ha are hooked together. Quaraina. Quaraina. That's the sister's name. Quaraina. The name means answered call. It's a feminine name, so it's answered her call. It's understood as a feminine name, so it's answered call. But the name is feminine, so it's referring to a sister, so it's answered her call. You got it? So it's the Qua, the Ra, the I, the Na, and the Ha. Right, that's what the name means, right? All right. Somebody got time? Somebody got time?
8:25.
8:25. Okay. For the last 30 minutes, we're gonna. Everybody got this, right? We can move on. All right. The last 30 minutes, we're gonna go over some tribe names, right? We're gonna go over the 12 tribes, right? All right. And now, what you need to do while you're home, you'll need to take all these ancient Hebrew names and you need to correlate them with your Assyrian on your Assyrian diagram here. You'll just take it and look up the letters and match it up to the Assyrian. There's no connectors. There's no connectors, no separators in the Assyrian, so you wouldn't have to worry about connecting or separating. The connectors come with the ancient, all right? So now the first tribe name we're gonna go into is Judah, right? Yahweh is the name for the tribe of Judah. That is, it's pronounced in the Hebrew Yahweh. That's the name, right? That's the name of the tribe of Judah pronounced in English. Yahweh. Alright? So in ancient, it's the Yah, it's the Ha, it's the Wa, it's the Da, which is the triangle, and the Ha. We haven't come across the Da yet. So Yah, Ha, Wa, connected at the end. So now, whenever you see this, and I'll write it for you in the Assyrian, so you'll know what you're looking at. So you have, let me see. Yeah. All right. Y'all see this right here? Yahawada. Y'all see that? Did I write it too close to the first one? All right. So when you're reading in the Assyrian, you may see this group in the letter right here. Of course, you'll see this and this and that and this right here, this over here, and that. Don't pay attention to none of that. You understand? This is not. This means nothing. You understand? We don't give credence to those letters and squiggly lines that you see in the Torah because they make you make sounds that are not in the Hebrew at all. So this grouping of letters right here, you start to recognize, you start to have memory of how letters come and how the words are pronounced. And the Yah that's a little bit too long. The Yah in the Assyrian is almost like it's an upside down L, but it's not as long, it's not as big as the other letters that come. You understand? Of course, the Ha is an N looking letter, but it's not connected on one of the sides. The Y, it looks like, it's probably not that long, looks kind of like this when it's printed. The Da, it looks like a T, but it looks like the staff is coming down. It looks like it's off center. You know how you got the T at center, but the Da, it looks like the staff is coming down. It's off center on the Da when you read it in the Assyrian. Looks like that staff that's coming down is off center. Then you have the Ha, right? Yahweh. That's how it look when you read it in the Torah. That's how it look if you see it in the ancient Hebrew. That's how it will look. All right. Everybody got that? We can move on. All right. The next tribe is Benjamin, right? Ben Yum. Ban Yum, right? So you got Ba. This is a little long. Ban Yum. Salaki. That's it. Ban Yum. All of them connected. You notice what just happened. You said the word? Benyamin. You got the B, the Ba, the Na, the Ya, the Ma, the Ya, and the Na. Everybody wrote it down? Everybody wrote it down, right? So Banyamin. We just applied one of the rules we just went over. Go ahead.
Is it not?
The Na what?
You wrote it,
Go ahead.
that's what I know it's not.
Yeah, you're right. Go ahead. I wrote it what?
You wrote it,
You right, you say it.
you wrote it the way we see it in the tonight.
That's no. That's not what the rule states. What did I just do? What happened? You're looking at it right on your alphabet sheet. It's right there on your alphabet sheet. Come on. That's it. The nod comes at the end of the word, so it has to be written in a different way. That's what just happened. The nod came in the middle of the word, so it's written like a three, like a crazy looking three looking thing. But it comes at the end of the word, it's the same nod, the same letter, but it has to be written differently because it comes at the end of the word. It's a prime example. Binyamin is a prime example of the rule that we just went over at the beginning of the class, stating that when the nod comes at the end of the word, it has to be written differently. That's one of the letters that has to be written differently if it comes at the end of the word. It came in the middle of the word right here. Binyamin. It came at the middle of the word at first. And then you also have the Ma that doesn't come at the end of the word too. So you have to write that as the D looking letter. It's not written like a square. So then the Na comes at the end of the word, has to be written differently. Go ahead.
Okay. It comes at the end of the word, and it has to be written differently, unless you read it in tonight. Because we read it in tonight, and go write it down another way, right?
No.
And they're not going to write it down in that way.
What you mean?
Meaning, it's going to look like a C. A backward C is written down in tonight. But that's what's getting.
Well, what you looking at?
Okay.
You gotta the only reason why you said this is because you confused on the paper. So if you come up here, I'm gonna show you on the paper. Yeah, you gotta come this way.
No. Right. See, now, that's how we're gonna see it in when we read.
Right.
But that's how it has to be written.
No. That's where you're confused. The not is that's how you're gonna see it if it comes in the middle of a word. That's how you're gonna see it if it comes at the end of a word. Right here.
Gotcha.
You see what I'm saying? That's why when okay, this line here, this is how you see it printed. This is how the letters are printed in the Tanakh, this way. If these letters come at the end of the word, the print is going to change to this.
Gotcha.
This is how people write these letters. If these letters come at the end of the word, this is how people are going to write these letters. You understand? This is the type way of writing it, and this is the handwriting way of writing it.
Gotcha.
Y'all understand what y'all seeing on the alphabet sheet?
The what?
I am wrong. The first line of the alphabet sheet, the Assyrian Hebrew, the first line of the Assyrian Hebrew that you see is the printing. That's why I said over in the right hand corner, you see it, the top margin, the Assyrian letters, it says printing. It says printing because whenever you see a printed document in the Assyrian, that's the type that you're going to see. You're going to see it printed that way. And when those letters come at the end of the word, you're going to see it printed on the second line. But when you skip down to the third actual line, you see handwritten. Y'all see that in the margin? Y'all see handwritten over there on the right? That's how people write. That's how people write these letters. So that's the handwritten version of these letters. But when those letters come at the end of the word, that's how people write those letters. You understand? That's why when you see the knob, the handwritten way of writing is this way. Go ahead.
So
You got it. Go ahead.
So the bottom of if now come at the end of a word, we're gonna see it in the Tanakh at the bottom of the print.
Yes.
Gotcha.
You got it. You got it. That's because when it say printing, that's you know how words, you know how letters are printed in books differently how you write them on paper. Right? That's what that's showing you. It's showing you how these letters are printed in books versus how people write them on paper. You understand? That's what it's showing you. All right? So now we just seen what just happened with this word, right? With young men, right? With the tribe, right? So we can move on with this, right? Now next week we're gonna refresh. We're gonna go over this, right? All right. The next tribe we got here is Levi, which is a fairly easy one, right? Levi, the so-called Haitians. Judah, so-called Negro. Benjamin, the so-called West Indians. You know, all the West Indian tribes, West Indians, the St. Croix, the St. Kitts, Nassau, Bahamas. You know what I'm saying? All your Caribbean islands. That's the tribe of Benjamin. All right. Levi, of course, the character for the La is L. Lawyer is the way you pronounce Levi. So you have the La, the Wa, and the Ya. Lawyer. Salaki. The La and the Wa connect. Lawyer. So when you see the La and the Wa connected, it's law. And Levi was responsible for what? Enforcing what? Come on. The law. Yeah. You understand? During the Old Testament, you broke the law and you was called? It was Levi, the tribe of Levi. Moses was from the tribe of Levi. Aaron was from the tribe of Levi. Go ahead.
You may ask, I was thinking you was going to live
I mean, anybody. I'm just looking at you. I'm just looking at you. Everybody else make me nervous. You my focal point that don't make me nervous. I'm just talking to you, but everybody think, you know what I'm saying? Anybody can answer. I'm just looking at you right now. All right? So, this is the tribe of Levi, the so-called Haitians, right? The so-called Haitians are the tribe of Levi. Moses was from the tribe of Levi. Aaron, they were doing the Old Testament. They were given the responsibility of the law. They were the enforcers of the law. That was the police, so to speak. You understand? So in this word, law and the law and the law are connected. The Yah is separate. Whenever you see the law and the law connected, it's law. Right? That's pretty easy. Everybody got that? All right, next tribe is Simeon, right? Shemaiah. Who got a flyer? Who can tell me? Well, hold on one second. Pull the flyer from back there for me real quick there. Somebody out. Who's Simeon? The Dominicans? Salaki.
Simeon would be the minute.
Right. Keep that flyer out for me, just in case I need it. Yeah, copy. Shemaiah one are the Dominicans, right? And does Dominican mean like dogs or something? I don't know. I think Salaki, I think Dominican means like dogs or something like that. Salaki. Yeah, but I may be wrong. But Simeon, Shemaiah one is how you pronounce that in Hebrew. That's the tribe of Shemaiah one, the Dominicans. Responsible for all that good old music, man. They get the brother getting beating the bass drum, and he be strumming a little, a little shaker. You know what I'm saying? I don't know about that. But everybody got that? What's the time tonight, huh?
8:47.
8:47. All right. Hey, Zebulun is Guatemalans, right? Right. From Guatemala to Panama is Zebulun, is the tribe of Zebulun. The follow-on. Zavala. That's Guatemala to Panama. Anyway, all right, pretty good on paper. When it comes to a chalkboard or something, it goes out here.
That rapper Pop Smoke, he was Panamanian.
He was Panamanian?
Oh,
Wow, okay. Okay. The bottom line, man. And right now you got all those Guatemalans getting locked up on the border.
mm-hmm.
All up and doing Panama, all them coming up, trying to come up because you got all the drug cartels down there fighting for all that land and, you know, killing each other for territory and the supremacy, the trade routes, the drug routes they fighting for over there. You understand? And also too, you know, just trying to get to America to, you know, create a better life for themselves. You understand? But the so-called white man, he want them to come over here and pick all the strawberries and all the grapes and stuff. But yet still he wants to oppress them on the border at the same time and keep them and want slaves and make them into slaves, you know, under the policies of Donald Trump at the same time too. Right. Like they you know, this oppressor gets rich off of us in so many ways, eats off of us, off of our people. And that's why the scripture says we got to gather together. Right. You understand? And no one is feeling the hurt and the pain of those people on the border. Nobody, without the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, like no one will be feeling the pain and agony of those families over down there on the border. Wouldn't nobody be talking about, you know, a mother trying to feed her baby through the gate. You understand? And then you just now have some politicians talking about how they just went down there to the border and how bad the conditions was down there. But it's like the push to get anything done is so slow. Right. You understand? It's because they want us slaves down there. You understand? Yet still the Guatemalans, the Panamanians, they come up here, they build all our buildings, they do all the construction, they pick the grapes, they pick the strawberries, the cucumbers, the oranges. You understand? And so, and one of the generals, I think General Muhammad was bringing out, they are the reason why strawberries don't cost us $20 a little bushel. Because if the oppressor had to pay the overhead of picking strawberries, let's say the oppressor had to pay the crew $20 an hour or $15 an hour to pick the strawberries. Do you know strawberries would not be $2-3 for a bushel? Strawberries would be $20, you understand, $10 a bushel because he got to pay the overhead. But because they get paid so little to pick those strawberries, that's how your strawberries are so cheap. Right. That's how your oranges are $2-3 a bag. You understand? $2-3 a bag, and it's 15 oranges in there. What about apples? Go ahead.
That's even what you bring out, because it's written in the Constitution that, you know, if you go to prison, you can be a slave, so they got to make you a criminal so they can get it for free. That's free labor.
Right, and what's so bad about it is it's cheap labor. It's cheap labor because they know that the Guatemalans are here, you know, past their work visas or here, you know, illegally and they don't have papers. You know what I'm saying? So that's just like 3,000 people died building the truck towers. And he didn't have to pay for none of their funerals because they were all here illegally. You understand? And that's the oppressor that we're living under. We living under this oppressive society that allows that to happen. That even though he's supposed to, because he's breaking the law. He's employing, you know, people that don't have papers. He's not supposed to do that. You know what I'm saying? You know how many building codes and violations he's going against by employing workers that don't have papers, proper documentation. What about the shots and all that stuff you gotta get just to come here over here from another country and work? What about all the the physicals and the disease prevention that you gotta go through just to come over here and work? You understand? And Donald Trump, he get to employ 3,000 Mexicans, 3,000 of our brothers coming from the border trying to get a better life. 3,000 of them died in some accident, probably his fault, not providing the proper work environment. He get to just brush it up under the rug. You understand? So what's the time check? We done? We good?
We got it's 8:55.
8:55. We're gonna clip it up right here. It was a great class, great first class at Lashawan, Qadash. Next week we're gonna have a whiteboard sitting up right here. You understand? We're gonna have it right there, posted up. We're gonna be able to conduct the class properly. The water for dealing with the technical difficulties and our small board over here, the water to Officer Oz. Letting us, giving us the board that we work with tonight and serve this purpose. And with that, pass the class over to Precinct Officer Shabaya. It's right up under that. Right up under that. Right up under that. Really? Right.
With the Israelite school or university? This is it. With the ISUPK, these are the security announcements. We are the ISUPK and the Commander General Yohana. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Group for new brother or sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted on. They are here to shed themselves in the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There's another 6 months in which the brother or sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 through 10 means tenth in the Hebrew, my Aishara. 10% of any penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Give to the treasury department or teacher, priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Upcoming holy convocations.
Upcoming holy convocation is the end of the Feast of First Fruits. Come this side. Feast of First Fruits. It will end June the 20th, and as the time gets closer, we'll give you more information on that.
If anyone wants to become a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, and scarf. And with that, I might gonna say, Wapin Qadash, which means turn and face the east. East would be that way. We're gonna say the Lord's Prayer in Hebrew. Abinah, Shabbat Shemayim, Qadash, Hayah, Shabbat,
Yahweh, Malakaka, Taba'ah, Ratazaka, Hayah, Aisha, Barataza, Kaya, Hayah, Bashamayim, Latananaw, Lakar, Ka, Yawam, Wasalaknaw, Kabawakinaw, Kasalaknaw, Kabawakinaw, Wala'ah, Kabiyahanaw, Panasai one, Paul, Hawashanaw, Mayan, Ra, Kaya, Lakar, Amalakwa, Wahal, Wadapawa, Wahabalam, Amen.
In English, our Father,
Which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
So be it.
Psalm. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courteous salute to the teacher. Stand, brother. We'll give one courteous salute to the teacher. Men of Israel, Amayim Shabbat, Amayim, Barak, Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shah, Barakatah. Yazmatah, sisters. Stand, we're going to give one courteous salute to the sisters, brothers. Yeah, church, face the sisters. Sisters face the brothers. Men of Israel, we're going to give one courteous salute to the sisters. Amayim Shabbat. Amayim, Barak, Yahweh Shemai, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shah. Yazmatah, class dismissed.